Hello, dear students. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to the big news. On popular demand from our students, we have relaunched the Big News Initiative, where we take up one single important news of the day and discuss it in detail from a UPSC perspective. I hope you all are very excited for this initiative. So tune in to our YouTube channel every day at 2 p.m. to catch the big news of the day. Without any more delay, let's dive into the big news for today. The big news for today is primarily articles that have been featured in the Hindu and Business line. The articles deal with the fact that Tamil Nadu worried over increased presence of Chinese army in Sri Lanka. Chinese military vessel reaches Sri Lanka's Hambantota port. These are the two articles that have been the basis of today's big news. So, what exactly is the concern that we are dealing with over here and why this is such an important news? There are several reasons. One of the primary important reasons is the fact that China's satellite tracking vessel is a ship, which is the Yuan Wang 5, has arrived at Sri Lanka's southern port, which is the Hambantota port. You can see over here in the southern part, the Hambantota port. You can also see it is one of the newest ports in Sri Lanka and the second largest port in Sri Lanka. This is one major reason why this has become of concern in India. The second and the third important reasons is you can see in the northern part, if this is the concern in the southern part, in the northern part of Sri Lanka, you will constantly see the People's Liberation Army, which is the army wing of China, constantly making incursions in the form of high-tech gadgets. They have been deploying satellites, drones, and other communication equipment in the northern part of Sri Lanka. And we know the northern part of Sri Lanka is quite close to the Indian subcontinent. Adding to all this, there is another important news that is also being featured. Very recently, it was seen Chinese nationals who come to Sri Lanka as tourists have tried venturing into the Indian borders via the sea route. This has been a cause of concern for India. So, on the outset, these are the three important things that have happened. But then why is this a cause of concern? Primarily, let's explore the first important reason, which is your Yuan Wang 5. Now, Yuan Wang 5, as you can see in this picture over here, these are ships which can be used to track satellites, rockets, and even have intercontinental ballistic missile capability. Intercontinental ballistic missile capability means from these ships, you can actually target across the heights of, or you can even move the missiles across continents. Now, adding on to this, China has almost 7 of these tracking ships which are operating in the Pacific, Atlantic, and the Indian Oceans. The immediate cause of concern for India happens from the fact that these ships have an aerial reach of almost 750 kilometers. So if you look at a map of India, you will see that around 750 kilometers means the entire southern coast of India, including the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, all these places come under the threat of this Yuan Wang 5. It goes without saying that having such a ship over here, India has even gone so far as to call it a spy ship of China because these have heavy technology oriented facilities to look into what is happening over the Indian borders and report it therewise. I have a very interesting task for you over here. Around the same time, India has given certain aircraft to Sri Lanka to increase its military capabilities. I want you to find the name of that aircraft and mention it in the comments below. Now let's explore India's actual concerns in this issue. Let's start off from the smaller issues. The first thing is the concern that Tamil Nadu fishermen have raised. You can see over here that when you have Chinese presence in the northern part, this actually causes a concern to the fishermen over here. They do feel that the Chinese people over here are tapping into the marine resources of this Indian Ocean region. This is the first concern. The second concern is even more interesting. Very recently, several Chinese drones which have been there in Sri Lanka conducted a survey of this area in the prospect of harvesting sea cucumber. Sea cucumber is basically an aquatic organism, and in the prospects of finding the viability of cultivating it, China had conducted drone surveys. And India does feel that this is just a pretense to look into the Indian borders. Coming to the bigger concern, one major thing is the ICBM launch facilities of Yuan 5. If at all there is any military incursions in the Indian Ocean region, having a ship like Yuan 5 would enable China to target any of the major Indian areas which are there in the southern part. The concern becomes even more grave when the nuclear establishments in Tamil Nadu, especially the Kalpakkam nuclear power plant which is there, becomes under the coverage area of this Yuan 5. Now, the biggest concern of all of these things is the fact that this actually aids China's string of pearls theory. China's string of pearls theory envisions having different ports all over surrounding India to counteract any kind of conflict that will happen in the Indian Ocean region. India feels that by having Yuan 5 lodged in the Hambantota port, China is actually having a practical manifestation of this string of pearls theory. The Chinese response to this has been quite interesting. China has said that these are nothing to be concerned of. These are just marine scientific research activities of the vessel, and they did not impact any country's security interest. China has also maintained that China intends to improve the soft power presence in Sri Lanka. And as part of it, China is now offering financial aid to the postgraduate students who are pursuing their studies in Sri Lanka. This becomes interesting because India offers financial aid to Sri Lankan students who happen to come to India and complete their undergraduate course. So here, China is trying to further it a little bit more and say that you can study in your own country and we will fund it for you. Apart from this, China has already pumped almost $2.8 billion into Sri Lanka during its economic crisis. So if you look at the map over here and look at the FDI from China and India, you can see that India trails behind, whereas China is on a massive splurge when it comes to Sri Lanka. So if you look at it, but from both the Chinese and Sri Lankan perspective, they have maintained the idea, long live China and Sri Lankan friendship. Now coming into the Indian response or what India needs to do. To understand this, you have to get the picture of what is happening currently in the world. Currently, there is a Chinese Party Congress that has been happening, and in the Chinese Party Congress, it was maintained that Hong Kong and Taiwan are part of China. Now, this is popularly called as the One China policy, and a lot of the countries in the subcontinent support this. Very recently, India has maintained the stand that India wants to have individual trade relations with Taiwan and with Hong Kong. In the eve of any conflict in the Hong Kong or Taiwan region, India might take a strong stand against China, and this might lead into any kind of attacks in the Indian Ocean region. And this is where all this news comes into perspective. So now when you have a spy ship over here, when you have these incursions over here, it becomes important that India strengthens its security in the region. So what does India need to do? The first thing India needs to do is there is a coastal security scheme for which the phase 3 funding of it has not happened. We have to immediately disperse the funding for the phase 3 and increase the security in the coastal regions of India. Adding on to this, the center should help Tamil Nadu raise a few Indian Maritime Reserve battalions that can be stationed across the coast, because Tamil Nadu feels they are at the most vulnerable point when it comes to the incursions from the Chinese-led Sri Lankan area. Finally, you also have to fast track the approval to establish a regional maritime coastal security training academy in Tamil Nadu. Immediately, when these three things are done, we can improve the security. Adding on to this, there is almost a 50% vacancy in the 800 men military army that is stationed in the Tamil Nadu coast. That means we just have 400 of them there. These vacancies have to be immediately filled. Adding on to all this, India should focus on the soft power improvement in the form of education in Sri Lanka. India has already contributed a lot on the economic terms. India has given almost 3.8 billion to Sri Lanka during its financial crisis. Now, India needs to amp up its soft power too. With all this, India can hope to build the security that it needs to counter the string of pearls theory that China is planning to put forward in this region. I hope you all have understood the news clearly. If yes, give a like for the video, share it with your other UPSC aspirant friends, and make sure you watch the big news daily at 2 p.m. Thank you and have a nice day.